all, but I don't hear a ton of talk about like the incremental strategies, tactics, and objectives that are going to be more short range that you are going to build on to achieve this vision of a future. Do you have any? Have you guys? Am I late to the party? Did you guys discuss some of these like pragmatic steps that are on the roadmap to achieving this vision?
Um, well, I mean, I guess like first on the sort of I think like the aesthetics and the visions is like super important and like really earnestly like it's like every like EAC mid journey picture I see like I actually want that like in particular like it's like I think like being like really extreme and like unrelenting in terms of building like just like a wildly like abundant exciting future and sort of really like leaning it I'm like really hardcore about like actually like doing this stuff. I think yeah. I mean, I think that like there are first steps that need to be taken, and I don't think that I think that like building the will and the conviction in people to take these problems super seriously and try to figure out how we build like how we build like a radically exciting future is like super important. I think vision stuff is like super important. But like yeah, and I think the sort of the function of that is to build in people like a level of zeal and fervor that makes them willing to be really like dogged in their pursuit of these of solutions to these problems. And so I don't know. I mean, with Praxis, it's like it's pretty simple. It's like build a really big community of super talented people who want to move to a new place, found a new city, work with really amazing companies like Shug and others to figure out the sort of particularities of the sort of contours of the regulatory system that unlock the progress that they need to move faster, and like the unlock an ability to move faster, and then go to go to governments and engage with governments along like about making regulatory concessions within the context of like an existing special economic zone framework that they already have, to like to make those concessions. So I can get into like tactical. So it's like generally what you'd want to do is like you build like a sort of like industry cluster, like you build like a coalition of companies that want roughly the same regulatory changes. You like enumerate them. You find companies in a particular country that are like sort of like aligned that would be aligned with those policy changes. You build like this sort of like local stakeholder base. You find like there are like two guys that if you're going into if you're going into a country, like you need to find like usually there's like a guy. We call them Yusufs because there's this guy named Yusuf who we work with. He's like really awesome. He worked at like a sharing economy like a sort of like sharing economy company, like ride sharing company that they had to like change a law to make the thing that they're doing legal. And so he sort of understands tactically like who all the relevant advisors are, who all the relevant regulators are, like who sort of like each person is in like the sort of political picture that matters and like what they care about. And you need like one of those guys who can help you like execute on all the tactical items, like putting together the docs and the presentations, so on and so forth.
Right.
And then you need like a former head of state. Usually, you need a former head of state that like just can get you access, so they can like make a phone call and set up a meeting that actually matters, right? And then there's like, how do you tell like a sort of how do you give like the sort of the current head of state or whoever the core champion is like a story, like a winning political narrative. Like you sort of have to figure out like how do they score points, like what do their voters care about, like how do you
You
like
have to be
create
Machiavellian about it.
yeah, you got to actually do the politics. So I mean, like, yeah, I guess
Yeah, well,
like
but what we're describing, Dryden, is I hear what you're saying, and that you're describing like what are like large, corporate multinational, multi-corporate, conglomerations and business pacts, which ultimately can also form into like lobby organizations, lobby interest groups, um, and they can be the backbone to those types of movements. But there's nothing new there. That's like 100-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
Well, how does this have to do with like city building and
So I think just like the question that you're asking, if we can shorten it into one thing, it's how do you build the future, and specifically how do you like what is the framework, what is the theory with which you will steer civilization? There's answers we could get into here, but that is a really fucking complicated question that I don't think is like necessarily fair to place all at one particular person's or company's
No,
or
no, no.
movements.
Well,
To
I think I know, but I think like I guess what I'd say is like there are a bunch of different unlocks. One of them is there are like regulatory unlocks, and using and like sort of like doing politics in a really like thoughtful, sophisticated way towards getting political concessions that you know that unlock new opportunities for companies is like one way to do that, right? Like just like I talked about this earlier, like on the nuclear stuff. It's like there are countries that have 1, 2, 3 agreements with the U.S. You know, you can export nuclear tech and IP to those countries. They don't have like a licensing board set up, so there's no one in the country that can like actually rubber stamp a like a project. There's no one who can actually approve projects. Like if you can go to that country with a company that wants to build like a really big data center region. You know, they want to invest like $2 billion in the in the country. You could say, hey, like, we can do this project if you set up this licensing board so that we can partner with this nuclear company that, oh, by the way, has like a $200 million investment from from your state-owned energy companies. So there's already this existing alignment. Then you've unlocked like eventually super cheap, but certainly super reliable power for a company that then is going to build like a big data center region, and they can pass along some of like the energy cost savings in the form of really cheaper compute to companies that they could set up set up their like train models there, and they have like sort of like structurally lower structurally better economics via like cheaper compute. Like it's like sort of like there are like regulatory levers that you can pull to get to the future faster. There are also other things that you can do. There are other strategies and so on. But like one thing is like do politics super well on behalf of the technology industry, and that's the thing that I think about the most. So other people have other reasons, but like at Praxis, like that is the thing that we think about the most. It's like, what are the regulatory levers that we can pull by doing politics super well on behalf of the most aggressive, exciting companies in the world?
yeah, I think that it's Praxis. It's such a like the name here is like really important. It's like you can have these big visions, and that's really important North Star stuff, and like important for it's like an affordance to engineer new models, new ways of thinking about organizing, structuring the world or whatever. And then at the end of the day, like there's just a fucking pile, a mountain of dirt to eat and a bunch of glass to chew, and like that's a meaningful part of it too. Like, and yeah, I don't know. I don't always understand these yeah criticisms or whatever, but um, in any case, I think he dropped again, so it's a connection issue, I think. But I guess you want to wait for a minute, see if get him back, or there you go. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just sort of unfair to be like, well, but that's just like something else. It's like, well, like SpaceX was just building rockets, just launching another rocket, like to get started, or like Tesla was just, like shoving a bunch of electrical components into a Lotus, like or something. And it's like, it's not. There are more complicated answers that you could get into, but it's certainly on just again on the coordination failure and like crypto side of things. I'm not sure, Dryden, if he's stuck down there, but anyways, I don't know. Data, you chimed in a couple times. I don't know if you wanted to share anything else or had a question that you wanted to ask.
No, I'm good.
Cool. Well, I guess we shall wrap up. Netrunner, Dryden. I don't know. I'm not the. I don't make the rules. I just work here. So, thanks everybody for coming. I guess if you haven't followed Dryden, if you have a startup and you haven't applied for Praxis, like I don't know what you're doing, but definitely do that. And yeah, follow Netrunner, follow Show. Oh, Dryden. Okay, cool. Did you want to add anything or?
No. Thank you guys for all listening. This is super. I don't really. This is the first time I've done a Twitter Spaces. Actually, I've never. I've like listened to one or two, but I'm gonna do these more often. These are pretty fun. It's like I enjoy hearing people's thoughts and questions. And I don't know. I hope everyone thought it was interesting. And I think if anyone here wants to apply for a steel visa or is in the process of doing so or already has but hasn't heard back yet, feel free to DM me. If you have a company and you want to build on Praxis, you want to work with us to think about what's your particular regulatory blockers there are that you have currently that we might be able to unblock. Like super down to chat about that stuff. And then also just like more immediately, we have like a ton of super talented people in the community who maybe would want to work at your company or on your project, and investors that might want to give you money and so on and so forth. So like would love to be helpful in terms of connecting you to people in our ecosystem that might be able to be super supportive. And then most importantly, like it's just like Praxis is a community of people that want to be pioneers in a really like earnest, genuine way, and who are spending their lives and their energy in pursuing a really like exciting future, or pursuing the frontier. And so if that's something that you want to spend more time doing, spend more time around people who have that energy, who like who want that for their lives, then I encourage you to apply. So yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with space. It's a really great affordance. So definitely, I would encourage you to keep doing them. And I'll DM you about some stuff too that I think. Yeah, I would just be really psyched to help Praxis however I can as well. So, thanks for coming, everybody. I guess, and yeah, looking forward to. Oh, Data.
No, I was just say, have a great one, everyone. This is a great conversation.
Looking forward to seeing everybody on Praxis, right?
Yeah, see you all in the city.
Hell yeah.
All right, base. See you guys.
See you
Later.
Have a great one.
Okay, let's see. Do we undeafen now? I think we do. Hell yeah. Okay, let's see. Make sure my OBS is working and everything. Okay, cool. Well, I suppose we might as well stream the Rust, right? Oh, fuck. Oh shoot, there's a person here. What's up, buddy?
Hello. So, Lasan from Twitter.
We did what now, huh?
Hey, hello.
Sorry, I missed that again. My ears are not processing right now.
Yeah, it's LaShawn. I was just in
Oh, okay.
the space
What's
there
up,
with
man?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey, doing good. I joined this Discord and I saw that you had been in here, and yeah, I jumped in.
Sweet. Okay, that works there. Cool. Yeah, I figured since we have the thingy happening tomorrow and LangChain's doing like their little co-working night, which actually I should go update all the titles for that because I thought it would be funny
Mm-hmm.
if we did an I can't believe it's not Langchain co-working night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I didn't mention I had built like several plugins. I actually had a few thousand users on some plugins. Um, and it's of course like kind of similar to the GPTs, the actions and the way that you kind of leverage the language model.
mhm.
And I've explored like some systems like that. Um, so I do find this idea of a GPT is hackathon quite fascinating. It'll be interesting to see what people make.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm super stoked, honestly. Uh, like not everything works. I don't know why, but my mouse keeps disappearing whenever I go to my other browser. This is so fucking weird. But the yeah, I thought we would be a lot further behind than we are and like with less cool shit. So we haven't like really run through a full deployment yet, but I'm hoping that we can, if nothing else, like have a really good starting point for
mhm,
people to like PR into and get like an actual store going, and then
right.
yeah, it seemed good to like have a open source alternative because like GPTs are cool, but like the thing that that does is it lets you like if you're used to chatbots like go
Yeah.
start writing code and doing code thingies and be less scared of that. So once you get there, like if we can get there and then be like, "Oh, by the way, you can run this on your machine and you can also like write your own code for it," then, you know, it's kind of the next step I would hope.
Sorry, in the sense of in what sense? Um, next steps for I didn't quite
Like
follow that, I guess.
so like let's say you're a relatively non-technical person, but GPTs are starting to make sense to you. So you're on OpenAI
Hmm.
and you kind of get the idea of
Hmm.
what a API spec looks like.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but then when you're staying in OpenAI, you just get better at
Right.
GPTs rather than branching
Okay.
out into
Okay.
like actual
Right.
code.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I see where you're coming from now.
Hmm.
You
Like an
wanna create a
educational kind of
GPT that makes
thing.
it easier to like kind of make GPTs. Am I?
Um, well, I think more so, A, what I just want to have a GPT store that's available for like people that don't fit the very narrow like
Yeah.
number of people that are eligible to be on Sam's GPT store for one, and I think he needs a little bit of
What do you
competition.
mean eligible? Like, I guess it's very simple. Like anybody can create it. I mean, like it's pretty user friendly creation process. It
Oh,
does
like
cost $20 a month, of
yeah,
course.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have to be able to afford $20 a month. Like you have to have that of disposable income, and if you live anywhere
Yeah.
that's not America, that might not be the case.
Right.
And then also, if you live anywhere but America, at least for right now, you can't make money on the GPT store. He will not pay you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so if we roll our own open source, and then um, kind of the other tertiary benefit to like having an alternative, especially one that is open source, is you can roll your own like payments and rev sharing system rather than just going by whatever he'll give you,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is
Yeah. It's interesting. Um, and so like making the GPTs like, are you trying to get action calling and things like that in the open source format?
mhm.
Uh, okay. Okay.
That is, yeah, that's actually what we are. That's so most of this week has been let's take the assistance API from OpenAI, rewrite it in Rust, and then
Okay.
make it so you can slap in whatever model you want to it. And
Yeah.
then I actually don't know how far we are on the front end. I don't.
Hmm.
I'm hoping we have something. I just haven't gotten really a clear answer because we got the Python client for handling the for like processing the user inputs and like firing those requests off to the Rust API, and we're trying to make sure like those two pieces work. That's where like most of our time has been, and then from there,
I will say from my perspective, that is very appealing as a developer who wants to like that stack. I have a lot of ideas for how I would want to leverage the assistance API, and I would also like consider like wanting to leverage it in the context of um like local models.
mhm.
And I also find Rust like an appealing way to develop.
Yeah, it's
And so
actually
so
I would say that I still don't know how to write Rust. As you can see, I'm very heavily relying on Cursor to carry me. But
yeah, yeah.
the yeah, the kind of the thing people are doing lately is let's rewrite it in Rust. And so
Yeah.
found the dude who was doing that for the assistance API and jumped into his repo and been working on
Okay.
that. But
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool.
yeah, that's why, or like, I am interested. Like, I really want to see what people do with it because, like, sure, you can have a GPT store hackathon, and LabLab just had one of those, but you're locked into the GPT store, and then they went with LangChain's open GPTs, which is cool, but it's also very like vendor locked to LangChain. So I think the thing that we're putting together here is like we're trying to replicate the assistance API as closely as possible and then build like a better, ideally a better UX or at least like a template to start doing stuff with. And then um, like trying to be as unopinionated as we can be so we can just see what, especially because if you're a developer and you're limited to just like the GPT store itself, then you're a little bit like hamstrung, kind of like you
Hmm.
only have API specs you can deal with. But if you have some experience with development and you just have like an assistance API and a fountain of inference to try a bunch of different models on, then you could build some really cool shit. So that's what I'm very excited to see how it goes. And
Hmm.
my DevOps guy, I don't know if we're gonna have it up and running, but I hope we do because it would be super fucking cool. Um, where DevOps is trying to set it up so that if a team during the hackathon submits a PR to the main repo of the OSS GPT store, the hosted version that we'll have as soon as that PR gets merged, the hosted version will update by itself. So
Hmm.
the store will be like actively evolving throughout the event based on like what people are pushing to it, which I think will be super fucking cool if we can make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. Some thoughts. I'd recently seen because I think like the one of the challenges here is going to be actually getting it to call the functions with any like level of quality. Like I think you can get the assistance API built, and I think that's going to work, but I don't know if that's going to work except for on like Mixtral or a 70B model. I think it will work on a 70B and a Mixtral model, and you might be able to get a good smaller model that can do the function calling. But yeah, I would be concerned about the ability to for some people to run that kind of a model that's good enough. I think we're gonna get better models, and it's like the Phi series and otherwise, but I don't know if we're quite there yet. But I think we are there on the models.
Well, yeah, at the moment, what we're doing for this event is one of the sponsors has kicked in their compute, so we're gonna have a couple of endpoints up for we've got Mixtral so far. We might throw a couple other options up that people can just so you don't have to have like good hardware to participate in the event or whatever.
Cool,
Um,
cool.
but the I don't know exactly. I wish I knew a little bit more because I haven't been the person that's specifically building the API. I'm just like I'm handling an issue or two.
Mm-hmm.
But the function calling thing is like there is options. So basically, the are you familiar with Light LLM at all, or any of those kind of
Um,
utilities?
yeah, it sounds familiar, but no, I'm not familiar with that
So
one
what?
specifically.
Yeah, there's a couple of projects. Light LLM is one, and then Open Functions is another.
Okay.
Where what they do is they split off the function calling and let you bolt that onto whatever model it is you're running, and then so as long as the model is sophisticated enough to know that it needs or to identify that it needs to call or that it would be good to call a function here, then it can indicate that, and then the kind of external function calling wrapper will handle the actual call itself. So you don't have to rely on every model being smart enough to be able to successfully like write out a function call and perform it. You can just hand that off to the handler model that is trained specifically to do function calling. Um,
Right.
and I think that Light LLM should be compatible, but if it's not, I think the Gorilla Open Functions wrapper should work, and then the third option is to manually sort of rig up a something like Nexus Raven to handle the or your favorite model of choice that is both a model and or like an actual chat model or whatever and can handle function calling well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that yeah, I think we were running into that. Actually, I had a yeah, there was one of my. Let me see if I can find it. The the Rust engineer was having a hell of a time trying to get the function calling going, or I assume he was, because I will paste over in chat one of the prompts that was being provided to the model, which one can read a little bit of frustration there, I imagine, but hopefully we'll be able to have it sorted out. So I guess yeah, long story short, there's options to handle the function calling for a given open source model. I think, and I think they are good. Like I think they work, but I haven't thoroughly tested them, of course. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah. No, that's awesome. I think it is probably possible to get some pretty good setups for doing it. Cool that you guys have explored it so far. Awesome.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be pretty cool. Are you what's your do you usually do Rust or Python or what's your main squeeze these days?
You know, I just started got employed as at Salesforce as a member of technical staff, software engineer.
Nice,
Um,
congrats.
and yeah, thanks. And you know, I have in my my employment contract that none and before I got employed, I was like thinking, okay, can I which startup should I create? I made some plugins. I you know,
That's where
maybe
I'm
gonna
at.
ramp into
Yeah,
some
as an
things. Yeah.
unemployed person, I'm like, okay, we're running out of money. I think I can code well
Yeah.
enough to maybe make some money. Let's fucking get it. Here's hoping.
Yeah, but now like the projects that I was working on kind of can't be in any sense professional. And but I still like I was kind of restarting kind of one of my projects because I had made this ChatGPT plugin and then this Twitter bot that was like a AI game.
Dope.
And yeah, so I had like some structures in there for managing that. I made it with on and yeah, now I kind of we kind of fell out of that, even like it wasn't going to probably be the best option. Anyway, uh I'm kind of like re-exploring like some of those ideas as like kind of just personal projects, and I was like trying to figure out like what kind of stack I wanted to use just here over the last week. And I really was thinking of using Rust. I would want to. I was wanting to maybe use Rust for like ontology. It has like this ontology library, and like trying to leverage Rust in like some kind of AI agent system, like maybe something like this, but with uh, yeah, some kind of structure. And Rust had this ontology library and would open up like a lot of like maybe sophisticated ways of doing a bunch of stuff that you maybe have a harder time doing in Python if you kind of build like a large system that's maybe dealing with a lot of data or otherwise. And so I was thinking, yeah, I would find Rust really interesting, and this kind of thing would be like like allow for you to build kind of like that. That could be a part of the foundation of that. But I moved towards just DSPY,
I
which is just like
just
Python.
yeah, I just
Yeah,
went to or I just yeah, went to like a workshop or something about that. I haven't really played with it yet, but it sounded super interesting.
yeah. I still haven't got my head all the way around it, and I'm trying to like figure out while using it. I like you can
Mm.
read the paper and you can get it, but it is like kind of I need to get the full pipeline, like a full pipeline laid out to really start to understand it. But it really does, I think, have a really great kind of structure for thinking about like more complex systems that you're trying to program that are leveraging language models in the sense of like, so I was thinking about kind of trying to create like a you could say like a movie generator, like maybe a short film generator, um, and you could use well, DSPY kind of lays out the structuring of how you might split up the generating a short film like into a really cognizable form. um and so because it like has these like just these simple structures, the signatures, the modules, and it does seem like it can go together really well. And it's just yeah, kind of have some ideas similar to that. You know, I would have a like hesitation in participating in a hackathon just because in a sense I value my ideas. I don't know.
They're kind of
I don't know.
inherently
Like,
exploitative. Like I'm
yeah,
kind of with you.
yeah.
I'm a boot camp grad, and I was like, I got most of the way through it, and then I was like, I want to go build stuff, and so I started doing a shitload of hackathons. And then um, over time, or like, yeah, I did a bunch of Eth Global ones, and then I started doing some lab ones, and I was pretty much like not, or like I don't like how Lab is running theirs.
Are you in Seattle?
I am not. I'm in
Okay.
Portland.
Okay.
Yeah, closer.
Oh, no. The lab wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
Lab's online.
was this lab like is it this was an online one? Okay.
Hmm.
And it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got or like they're kind of the main like online AI hackathon people, I
Yeah, I
guess.
think I did actually do like
Hmm.
one of their, and they have like these partnerships. Like I did, like I made this Mint tab. Let's see if they didn't put me on the list. I don't know. Like there was yeah, Mint hackathon. I did this, and yeah, it was a lablab.ai.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know how I didn't end up on this list. Some bullshit, but
Well, yeah,
I
that's my
participated.
problem with Lab is there's a lot of like, hey, what the fuck, moments that are very frequent with them. So I was like, and then I don't know if if you've won one of them, they'll offer you a deal for their slingshot accelerator, and the term sheet that they give you to get into that accelerator is very much, at least I'm not strictly a finance person, but to me, like, it looks appetizing for somebody that's like fresh out of school and doesn't really know what they're doing, and they're like, wow, I'm gonna make a startup now. But they don't realize that they're like, um, there's a stipulation on there that that Slingshot gets to match whoever gets the best deal, like, automatically, whenever they're going around for rounds, which
Yeah.
isn't fantastic. So, and then, yeah, so between like the semi-predatory kind of situation that's over there, and like they're very like disorganized. Like, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to shit on them too much, considering that we're both similarly in the space, but I was like, I did my fifth or sixth one, and I was like, I can do a better job at this just by myself. And then we did, the last kind of major hackathon we did was and where the server started was the emergency dev day hackathon. That was shortly after the dev day announcements, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And that went
You know,
super well. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah.
keep it up.
I think what I was trying to express in a sense is like if I sit down and I try and think over some abstractions for 5 hours,
Mhm.
I don't want to just give that like to anyone.
Sort of, or like, I understand how, or like, I understand that people think that way, and that I'm probably weird for not or for like actively choosing to not think that way, I guess, because it's, or like, my I guess I would be like probably in the like fanatically open source weirdo camp, where like I just
Hmm.
open source everything by default always. Um, Largely because like, yes, I can do some reasoning and I can write the code, but at least, or like, the primary, like, I want to open source this is motivation is like, I don't I don't think that sharing all of the code that I write precludes me from any go-to-market strategies that I am interested in pursuing, is sort of like number one. And I think it's, people sort of assume that you should, like, their default is, oh, if I want to make a commercial product, then I should be closed sourcing my code. And I don't agree with that assumption. And I think it is
Hmm.
a much smaller like number of GTM strategies that get
Yeah.
invalidated when you're open
And
source.
I agree with this. I agree with this. Like I think like one of my most excited or one of the most exciting actually hilariously is named Mintat. And
Nice.
it's not based off of this Mintat here. But it's more of Mintat in the sense of code completion, and it's Abante AI, and it's bio bootloader from Twitter. If that
Oh yeah,
has
Bio Bootloader is dope as fuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
fire. Yeah. True, true. And so yeah, his company is Abante AI and they have Mintat and it's open source and it's probably the best open source code thing in the sense that like a lot of these other code things that like people were talking about where it's like a bunch of like, it's like his abstraction is like, meant to like kind of it's much more developer friendly in a sense. So I really like Mentat, and it's open source, and I think he has a great like
I honestly haven't leveraged it all that
trajectory.
much. I've
Yeah.
been using primarily Aider. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but since Mentat was
No,
a little
no.
late. Oh yeah, Aider and Mentat are very similar, where they're both like in terminal. They both try to keep the majority of the repo like in context.
Hmm.
And yeah, Aider came first, so I've sort of defaulted over to that, and I didn't really check out Mentat a whole lot. But like, those are
Hmm.
that category of coding assistant, I think, is like, like, Copilot sucks because it's not really very good at keeping track of the whole context of the repo, and
Yeah.
yeah, so like Aider and Mentat and others are Yeah, those are the ones that are good IMO at least.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look at Aider. It's just attr.ai here.
It's
Or maybe not.
AIDER.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
Aider.
Aider
Right. I
dot
think
AI
that
maybe.
name does make more is a bit AI per. Cool.
Yeah, okay, so it's not Aider dot AI, but if you
No, I
say
did find it. I did find it.
okay, yeah, it's Paul
Yeah.
Gauthier, I think. Um,
Cool. No, it's very similar to Mintat, and yeah, I think this is the kind of abstraction where it's like the one where it's like you're gonna have a whole team of you're gonna have a software engineer and a project manager into this and that. I don't think that's very kind of. I mean, it might work, but I think all of the examples that we've seen are pretty ham-fisted. While this kind of structure or this kind of format, where it's you're talking to your code, and it with a intelligent like parsing and present like putting that into the language model for you, and like yeah, parsing out diffs and things like that, like this is the kind of thing that the language model like what makes sense to leverage language models for coding. And yeah, I have tried it for some things, but I haven't spent too much time with it, with either or with Mintat, but I'll definitely look more into this later. It's cool.
yeah, that's the one. Or yeah, that's usually some utility like that, or like yeah, in terms of actual code that I write these days, it's very much there's not very much of it. So it's a lot of it is comments and then either eight or pulling out eight or mentat and then okay, walk through this file and implement all of the functions that are being commented and then revise. It's usually my flow these days.
Cool. Yeah. I'm spending a lot of time just messaging with ChatGPT like about the structures that I'm thinking of building instead of getting too far into code.
Yeah,
A lot quite often.
I've the voice thing on ChatGPT. Like if I, especially if I get like can't sleep at night or if I'm like in the shower or something, I'm like, okay, GPT, here's the idea. I need a scaffold, please.
Yeah.
And
No, that's cool. Yeah, for sure.
the other part of
Yeah,
that
I've been doing
workflow
that.
that's great is Replit Mobile. You have GPT generate you
Mm,
a bunch of code, and then have it make you a REPL, and then throw it into Replit Mobile, tweak it around a little bit, try and run it, loop it
hmm
back and forth. You can actually like iterate decently. So by the time you get back to the desk, you have something that like actually works. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. I think this all is gonna go way further with GPT-5 or GPT 4.5. We'll see
Yeah, it's
how
gonna get
Ultra
crazy.
does. I think it's like this like paradigm is just gonna go to speaking out websites, and I it's like I wonder like how that changes like the social dynamics and the structures for like success, because it's just gonna be like I don't know. It's like, should we keep it, the code mediums, and then you just tell the AI? I mean, like, I just don't know, like, how we determine like talent in a. I mean, like, I guess it's still like you can just really code media, although that's probably not the best option. Just let the AI figure out if you should. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like I don't know, just some I don't know what to say about it or why.
Well, I yeah, the
Yeah.
or like the thought of like okay, as a software engineer, how do I like different like how do I be a good software engineer in the age of AI? Is that kind of like what you're wondering about?
Well, so it's like I have thought of that, and in my mind the idea is like fucking leverage AI to be able to operate in very quickly to develop software, develop software at scale, like scale your ability to develop software. But it's like I know that well, so I have an expectation about how simple that is going to be, and then like the skill set. It's kind of interesting, like the skill set for doing that. I'm not sure how different it is than like lawyers' skills. In the sense where I think it really will like it will bridge a divide where it's like uh, you won't have to learn to code, I think, in order to build applications at scale. And so it's going to widen the pool and of people developing software by a lot.
Yeah, definitely largely agreed. And that's kind of like why that's the other piece of like why I'm very much like open source advocating because
I'm going to mute for a second, but I can hear you.
yeah, yeah. It's very or like the other side of the coin other than like I just think it's like a good thing to do and it's like not bad and you get a lot of benefits from open sourcing your thing. The other thing is I think very shortly there's going to be competent enough models that will open source your thing for you if you aren't open sourcing by default. Like I don't think we are all that far from like walking up to a model and going, "Give me Netflix," and it being able to like deploy the whole thing for you. Which sounds kind of far-fetched, but it's really not. Like you can almost do it already. Actually have a repo. I I wrote a little like fucking cyberpunk kind of short story, short fiction thing, and then I had a repo to go with it that I need to go back and like finish because it would be a good meme. But
Awesome.
there's like we're with the right tools. Like right now, you have to use like 12 different tools in sequence, but soon that's going to be down to like two or three.
And it's like it's not only just build me a Netflix, but build me a AI generating Netflix.
Right, build me an
You
AI
know,
generating Netflix with an interface that generates on the fly based on my mood or some shit. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It supports the Vision Pro.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Fuck.
yeah,
It's
yeah. And I just you know, I mean like how that impacts like yeah, I mean like this whole space, whole
yeah, it's
because
actually
yeah,
yeah. The it's
yeah,
it, the like I yeah boot camp grad and my approach was like people were like, oh, if you have ChatGPT tell you the answers then you won't learn anything, and I was like, fuck you, I'm gonna do that anyway. And so I have a whole like pipeline of simulated learning and shit. But the point of that is like I have language models at very deeply integrated at almost all parts of my workflow. And so I'm doing a software engineering interview the other day, um, and they they were like okay, here's the issue or whatever, and I'm like, okay, so how I would solve this is I'm going to the models. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the docs of the thing you gave me, I'm going to embed them in Cursor, then I'm going to hop over to like Find or GPT. I'm going to spin up, my assistant over in my terminal. Um, and they were like, okay, well, so yeah, the code that it printed for you was correct. Let's throw kind of a wrench in things. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And they throw the wrench, and I'm like, okay, I have a doc spot already up, so I'm just gonna ask the doc spot, hey, this is what happened. How do we need to change our code? And so, and then the feedback I got, they were like, okay, we don't think it's the right fit. It's fair. And the feedback I got was like, well, we wish you were a little less reliant on ChatGPT. And I was like, well, firstly, I didn't use ChatGPT. Secondly, and they were like, oh, well, it'll probably come with time. You just need some more practice writing some more code. And I was like, I think the more time I spend, the more models are gonna get into my workflow because I'm gonna know what the right tool is
right,
for
yeah,
this
yeah.
particular task. Like back then I would just embed things with Cursor. Now I have like a chunking pipeline that I tweaked Verba for, which like shows me the source of the documents and is like a better like RAG kind of retrieval process. So it's like
Yeah,
weird that there's a lot. It's going to be a very interesting divide in developers, I think, based on when you kind of learn to code. Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, there's a sense where it's like doing a LeetCode medium is about being able to know like 100 different like a random LeetCode medium is like knowing 100 different like technical tools and being able to like dynamically pick from them to solve like a technical problem. And I think that like capability is maybe not. I mean, it's maybe somewhat useful, but I think it's gonna be of yeah, debatable like use when you don't really knowing just one tool, your language model interface, not only like teaches you how to think more uh, deeply about whatever you're doing in specifics, um, but identifies what tools might be relevant to the problem, so that can get a like larger like access to things, and build that like just through the experience of it, for any given thing. I'm a really big fan of the idea that we're going to get systems that just make us all like hyper capable at all of the things that we want to do, and that is a world that doesn't need UBI,
Mm-hmm.
and that AI is gonna probably lead to that in some sense.
That's what, yeah, that's kind of mostly what I'm building for, basically, is like my pet projects are all like, okay, or like it's the or the majority of my pet, yeah, my personal endeavors are, or like the two main things that I want to build is like the and kind of like, so I have a, what I'd like to do is start making community resources that are all I guess like model enabled. Basically, kind of the idea generally is to have knowledge base that's very robust that everybody can contribute to, and then ways to have that knowledge base like actively surface relevant information for the people who are currently like plugged into it,
Mm-hmm.
based on what those people are doing and what information they're feeding the system about what they're doing, and then have that kind of platform uh, for, as a lot of what I do in the server is like run hackathons and events and stuff like that. Um, and the general idea is, or like the problem statement is like, a lot of times you'll do a hackathon and you'll like barely get it in, and then you'll have like this weird kind of half finished thing and you'll forget about it. You'll drop it and never go back to it. So the thought that I was having is like, okay, well, what if we put everyone's hackathon projects in the same place and made them very easy to like surface for other people that are just kind of like looking for stuff to work on, or looking for solutions to their problem, and then in for that platform that all of those projects are being stored in, if we plug that into a robust knowledge base that also, there is like a series of code generation agents that are plugged into those two initial systems, that can like look for uh, or like, so a user has a problem statement, there's a bunch of half-finished projects, and like a bunch of knowledge that's like condensed and linked and tagged and all that stuff. I don't know if you use like Obsidian or Logseek or whatever. I'm an Obsidian
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Um,
I've touched both of them. I haven't gotten deep enough into to either of them. I always or I've certainly wanted to like consistently into using personal knowledge management, and I've thought at length about personal knowledge management, like very very much at length. But I haven't. I've tried to build a few systems for personal knowledge management, and I have some thoughts about what kind of system I'd want, and I think yeah, I think like the way that AI is going to allow for this, and the way that it already is, like I would say, GPT, I think is ready to be my personal knowledge management system. All I need is the feature that we're waiting on them to provide. which is which like I don't know if you saw the tweets of it did some it like was kind of confirmed that they are going to, you know, over the next months, I guess, release this feature where you can tell the bot remember this, and it will, you know, rag it away for you. um and so yeah, I think that alone is, but I mean, like, beyond that, I have looked at, like, okay, how can I and so I built a little GPT, and the GPT that I made kind of just pulled my GitHub repository, and then it connected to GitHub via the API,
Hmm.
and so it connected to GitHub via the API and was able to pull its own repos. So you could, like, say, get this file, and then the file would be the file that has the Google. It was a Google GCP like, or Google Firebase um, function handler, like cloud function,
Hmm.
and so I was, like, able to get that file, and I had thought, like, okay, like, this is the seed to trying to create a repository that can manage its own itself. And um, I do know you can use git sync with Obsidian, so you could have, like, a GitHub repository managed by a GPT that sync to Obsidian, and so you could go to GPT and, like, talk to the repository and say, I want to remember this, and then it would just store that away in your GitHub repository,
Yeah.
which would then would appear in your Obsidian.
Yeah, yeah, I've sort of, or like the approach that I've taken has been um yeah, like the flow like starts at Obsidian, I guess.
Hmm.
Where like I was putting it up earlier, but like so I've taken Obsidian and I have added and modified a bunch of plugins to it such that like so GPT has access to all of the notes that I've made in here, and then I have web pages stored,
Hmm.
etc., etc. And then I think this is the where's the okay. Um, there's another sidebar here for where when I'm looking at a note, it'll show me semantically similar notes over on the side, and then the percentage and like the phrases that it's retrieving. It's like it's as though I am a chatbot and it's showing me the rag that it would retrieve based on the
Right.
note being the prompt kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of the two main things that I want to do for that is like make that more publicly accessible. So I haven't actually set up the repo for it, but I do have a garden set up that I need to put up an Etherpad server, I think, just so people can drop stuff off there. And then there is another plugin called Obsidian Autogen that I don't know if you're familiar with AutoGen, but it's one of the multi-agent
Hmm.
coordination
Is
systems.
there's a plugin called Obsidian Autogen that
There
leverages
is.
Autogen for Obsidian?
Yes.
Yeah, I
The
guess I probably should check out. Like, I'm assuming there is a lot of great plugins for
mhm.
AI Obsidian. It's kind of goes together really well together.
It really does. It's yeah, it's like it is almost unfair the having access to that when in certain contexts like problems like I do a lot of like paper reading clubs and implementation clubs and stuff, so I like all of the papers that I have found that since I have the semantic matching and the auto tagging, I can just sort of like type half-formed thoughts into the search, and then it'll pull up like a couple of the papers. Then I click on one paper, and then it'll give me the semantic matches to the paper, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like
Hmm. Hmm.
you can grab this stuff really, really fast. The thing that I want to do, I've mostly got storage down and I want to automate it a little bit more because it's still kind of clunky. But then I want to automate surfacing. So what I want to do is basically put a bunch of spyware on my computer, and
Hmm.
then feed that to a language model that's got access to the KB, and then say like based on like these keystrokes, this like this web page text, this audio transcription, this
Hmm.
microphone input, etc., etc. Um, surface the most relevant information in this repo, and then if by that time I have the Obsidian AutoGen implemented, then like create like make your best guess of what the next task the user will be attempting to accomplish, and then create agents with relevant skills to assist them with that task. So
Right.
the ideal situation is that my computer knows what I'm going to do before I do it, and then already has deployed agents for me to help me do it by the time I realize that I want to do it, and then have that be a thing that everybody can plug into, and then have that also plugged into all the potential projects, and then the agents can also go grab those projects and finish the code generation on them, and then deploy them. Um,
Right, right.
as-
Have you looked at knowledge graphs or like ontologies
I am
for
practically
Mhm.
obsessed with knowledge graphs. Yes.
Okay, okay, that's super awesome. That's super
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you looked at basic formal ontology?
Not specifically. It sounds like conceptual
Yeah,
rather than a particular application or something?
yeah. So it's a upper level ontology, and it's actually so it's leveraged quite widely. There's this common core ontology, and the Common Core ontology leverages basic formal ontology as its upper level ontology. And Common Core ontology was created by the National Institute of Science Standards and Technology, and is leveraged throughout like the government, and also basic formal ontology has like this um, has it has this like it's a standard. It's a recognized standard by some ISO standard, and so the Common Core ontology and generally basic formal ontology is like it's an attempt to do kind of like what the ontology in the sense of knowledge representation, um, and uh, like like going back to Socrates, where it's like you know you divide substances up into their like an animal is a man or a man is an animal kind of thing, and doing that, but doing that in the most like well in a well designed manner, and so basic formal ontology is an attempt at doing that, and then Common Core ontology also provides these other like a little larger like ontology, and um, has things like kind of defining what an agent is in ontology, um, and that and like processes like you mentioned, like being able to get skills and things, and ontology is a way of defining what a process is. And so you can speak very definitively about certain processes by expressing them in ontology because it's like a formal language that it's hard to access. And knowledge graphs are can like support like putting ontologies on them because like they just have like is a relationship. So you know the note um yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess I have, or like, rather than, or I guess, yeah, I haven't, or like, I hear the word ontology used a lot, but it doesn't, it's not like a thing that is or like to me that, like, basically the interest for me with knowledge graphs is like the memoriz, like, uh, generally with retrieval, the thing we can do is have models memorize things. Basically, is kind of like how I think about it. But then I think like the way that you understand stuff is like a combination of memorizing a thing and then like knowing how that thing relates to the other things.
Hmm.
And so my interest for so like graph-based retrieval systems for RAG are very interesting to me because they let you have both the like semantic similarity matching, and then you also have the data on the chunks that you are retrieving, and like how the concepts that are being like pulled in by those chunks like relate to other concepts, which I think makes for like a better simulation of like actual understanding. So
Right.
that's usually generally like my interest in knowledge
Right,
graph
right.
type stuff. Like I want to leverage that piece to like help with like language models, and then like also that's like helpful for me for organizing my own KB, because like yeah, like Obsidian has its own like little graph view thing here. So
Mhm.
if I'm like, this is a way to manage knowledge and concepts that works for me, so it might also work for models. Um, and
Very
so
cool.
yeah, the I'll have to look into the ontology thing a bit more, because yeah, it keeps coming up, but I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
really have like a firm grasp.
I pasted into the channel here.
Also,
Just
hi
the
Brett.
chat.
Sorry, we're fucking we're going ham. Happy to
Hey,
have you on. Hope you don't mind us nerding out about ontologies and shit.
yeah, welcome. It's the chat if you're available. But yeah, so I sent this link to this course here, and I didn't take this one. I took one of his earlier ones. This professor is really awesome, and I think you'll like
Oh,
have some
semantic
familiarity with.
web. Okay, this is
Yeah,
ringing some bells. Yeah.
yeah. So this is like leveraging RDF, so like semantic triples, and trying to yeah, use some um, and yeah, this is like the ontology design is one part of this, and yeah, you can do knowledge graphs without ontology, and it's kind of like ontology can allow you to like kind of it's just like an additional like set of relationships that tell you like have maybe certain kind of qualities to them. So like say that so it's like you can say everything is an entity, right? And so you can kind of label like different knowledge as entities, and then you could try and divide entity into two different things, and so basic formal ontology divides entities into independent continuance, I believe, and yeah, it's like continuance and
Hi, sorry, I was having trouble with permissions.
Oh,
I've been trying to follow along. This is really interesting.
yeah. Fucking you get me started talking about knowledge graphs, and we'll go all the way off the rails. What's up, Razor? How you doing? This is our DevOps extraordinaire for the store that hopefully will be coming together, that I actually need to fucking submit a PR even though the tests are failing, just to get more information from the great Rust Wizard.
I thought he was online, but yeah, I'm the DevOps dude.
He do
Not
be.
perfect, but I do all right at it. But yeah, I just want to check in, see how things are going. I'm excited for things tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be fucking sweet. I got originally distracted by fucking some network state space thing kind of thing going on. And now I am distracted by knowledge graph.
You're
It would take
distracting.
it would take too long to explain it. Fucking, but it might actually be a good connect. I actually do want to send the guy a DM. Long story short, it's like one of those we are, we want to make an independent semi-governmental entity that interfaces with other governments, that is like acceleration zones for digital people and stuff.
Good explanation.
Man, that's what I got. But TLDR, it seems like they've got they have some they may have some resources available that I might want to go check in with about, and they're yeah, they're working with Shog, so I assume they're cool people. We gained some and then we
Yeah,
lost
I was
some.
just about to maybe try and run a Shog node and see what's on
Yeah,
there.
I want to run one too for this place specifically. Actually, I want to have like the projects all
Yeah,
run Node.
yeah. I just am curious, like, what kind of stuff people put on there, because it's a pretty broad thing to say open source AI, but it's like people could be you could put some really cool stuff on there, and that's all it would take is somebody who put some really cool stuff on there that you're not going to see anywhere else, and I'm just curious if that has happened, because yeah, a broad sense of open source AI, there might be like a good library or two in there, or it could just be a few, maybe a fine tune that isn't that could be something.
Yeah, I definitely want to like explore around a little bit, 'cause the yeah, just the semi close, like the you can yeah it's open source and you can see it as long as you are part of the part of the cool kids club is I think like a very useful thing, I think, or like adding some friction to, or like I was a big fan of Radical. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they do like a decentralized kind of Git thing as well, for like sharing and file storage and all that good stuff.
Mm. So
But
you're saying Shog has this kind of
sh
functionality
sh
where you
uh,
you you have to know like a certain node or something in order to.
I don't know if they have a permissions layer actually. I assume that, or I
Mhm.
thought that they did, and I might just not be recalling it
Mhm.
at the moment.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, like I looked in it. It does have a built-in Explorer, but then it's like you have the Explorer, but if you don't know maybe a hash, maybe you're not able to access
that was kind
the
of what I was
details. But then
thinking,
you
where it
have
was
a.
like you kind of need to know where to
Mhm.
look if you want to find something. Um,
Right. Yeah, that could be it. That could be it.
but I did want, yeah, I wanted to like, obviously, like since Shog itself is open source, like if it doesn't exist, then I could go implement it, and I think it would be useful to have like a semi-anon kind of open source thing where it's like, hey, all these repos are kind of default to private, but if you have, like, if you've made PRs on this repo, then now you can see these other ones. Like, we don't really care who you are, we just care about the code you wrote, kind of thing. I think would be like really kind of a cool. I don't know. It feels very like cypherpunk to me, I guess, which is
Mhm.
a thing
Mhm.
that I like.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that is it is interesting, like how much like tracing the like long-term economic value of something, and some unit of creation that you reward somebody for. It's just what happens like when, I guess, like somebody. Okay, why is that code, like, I guess, like useful? What makes code useful? Or like how do you like actually incentivize the system around that, the value of submitting your code and claiming that that you did contribute it.
Well, yeah, I figure it would be, or like, so if you've spun up a Shogot node, then I imagine what you could do is like your node has some amount of material on it, and then you have some way to identify your node, and then you would probably have other people who are also running nodes that have contributed to resources on your node, so you could kind of have this sort of like vouching attestation system, like, oh yeah, that guy's cool, kind of thing. And then obviously you could attach one of those nodes to, like, I don't know, like a crypto wallet or whatever, and try to track, make it so you don't necessarily have to be logged into your node to kind of keep your identity on the network, quote unquote. Um, and then kind of build it out from there, basically, where it's like you could start, posting bounties or whatever, and then somebody who completes the bounty, maybe they get access to a model instead of getting paid or something. I think would just be like cool, but like the primary, even outside of that permissions thing, like even just having code that's being stored on Git but not GitHub, I think is like that needs to happen more, I guess. So I'm fine with Shock just existing, but I would be happy to make it much cooler too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's open source code distribution is or like distributed code distribution is kind of just as valuable as the code you're distributing in some sense, or like I mean that's certainly a lot of the value. And the repositories of the language models and otherwise is already pretty useful. But yeah, going further than that, and maybe like having a yeah, just like a really great AI system that people can access from it that incorporates it really kind of well. And it's like you go to shock.ai and it just it is like publishing and distributing open source artificial intelligence. And it's like if you're a good publisher of artificial intelligence, it could be some great stuff. And it's just like, how to, like, as you said, it's like maybe it is possible to contribute to having it publish some great stuff in a distributed way.
Basically, yeah, like the additional friction of having to spin up a client to go do the exploring means like it'll be somewhat like I imagine a lot of the because like a concern for or at least I know the Skunkworks guys have brought it up, but it's probably for a few other people too is a lot of people will when they're working on models, I'm thinking of like Adept and Newsermez, Skunkworks, et cetera. A lot of them have like models that are kept behind closed doors, and then they'll release the little one as open source. And
Yeah,
kind of the primary reason
right.
is not so much to maintain competitive advantage as it is to prevent like brain drain from people like OpenAI and Google and shit. And I imagine it's like if I'm OpenAI or Google or whatever, um, it's going to be much more apparent when something shows up on GitHub that I want and much easier for me to go get it. Um, if it's fully open source on GitHub on the usual channels. So like the minimal friction of having to spin up a client, like instead of just idly scraping everything in and then running some algo to decide like, oh, is there a new architecture that we need to implement into Gemini or whatever. Um, like having to actually like dedicate a person to go spin up a node to start running, start probing the network, et cetera, et cetera. Even if it's not like it doesn't have to actually secure a whole lot. Like it doesn't have to have like the permission system doesn't have to be sophisticated. It just has to introduce enough friction to where it's not uh like where it causes some uh it makes certain things that used to be profitable less profitable, I guess, in terms of what a corporate entity might be inclined to do with open source AI research. So like just by virtue of existing, it's great. And then if you add some cool extra stuff on top, it could be even more cooler and greater. But yeah, I think it serves its function pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
I did post this image of this ontology here.
sweet.
Oh, you're alone again. It's here. So this is a basic formal ontology. It's like is a tree. So like all continuants are entities.